Netflix's South African teen drama thriller Blood and Water is back with its third season, and the stakes are indeed higher this time around. While all the existing plot lines are resolved with previous mysteries revealed, this third season also has much more action and dire consequences than before, as Puling and Vakil team up to find out the whole truth about their forced separation 18 years ago. The real perpetrators and their allies in the entire matter are brought to light. Who is Vakil's biological father? Going into the important questions that are answered in Blood and Water Season 3. The very first one dealt with is what exactly happened between Julius and Thandeka before the birth of their first child. While both Puling and Vakil, who has now been introduced to the Khumalo family well enough, are initially not given answers regarding this. Both Julius and Thandeka gradually opened up to them. Only 2 months after their marriage, Julius was scared and overwhelmed by the new responsibilities in life, and he wanted to take some time of the marriage, despite not wanting to do so. Thandeka had to move away from his house and start staying by herself. During this time, she lived a carefree life, and out of many interactions, she had a romantic night out with a man named Anthony Gabiza. Thandeka's pregnancy was a result of this night, but she and Julius had mended their relationship shortly afterwards. Who are the real perpetrators involved in the human trafficking racket? As has been suggested for all this time, it is indeed the Molapo parents, Matla and Lisbeth, who were the masterminds behind the whole trafficking racket. Especially Lisbeth was the one who seems more at blame, as the woman is quite ruthless when it comes to maintaining her business duties. Matla seems to present himself as merely the lawyer who professionally represents Point of Grace and is not really linked to it as such. But towards the end, Lisbeth exclaims how he too is involved in selling of their victims. Lisbeth had still been running the business from afar and keeping track of the whole Puling Vakil situation, and her active presence in Blood and Water Season 3 makes matters more difficult for the two girls. Meanwhile, Janet and Sam, who were placed under the police's witness protection, had started to talk about how Point of Grace operated as a trafficking agency. As a result, Lisbeth sends her trusted henchman, Gabriel, to break them out of the police's protection and to get Janet back to working for. However, their location was known to only a select few police officials, and this makes it clear that someone from the top authority is also involved with this crime. As the students have a party, the police barge into the scene on suspicion of illegal drugs being sold and used and line up all the teenagers. Meanwhile, Puling had been taking a break in the washroom, and she is instead taken captive by Gabriel, who takes Puling away. The fact that Puling goes missing at the same time that the police arrive on the scene makes most of her friends suspect that the police were corrupt too. Besides this, many of the characters had also started to believe that the police were not investigating any of the matters, such as Nwabisa Belly still being missing or the allegations against the Malapos, with any seriousness. The driver who had crashed his vehicle into Julius, leading to his death, had also turned himself in and accepted to pay money for the loss, making the situation all the more suspicious. Finally, after a point of patience is crossed, Vakil makes a public statement in a media press conference calling out the police's inability. She then also mentions how she believes Matla and Lisbeth Molapo to be the main perpetrators for having kidnapped her mother and now her half-sister. In the meantime, Wade and Lunga had also been trying to track Puling. It was especially Wade who bravely sneaked into the trafficker's outpost to look for his friend. Blood and Water Season 3. Ending explained. After Puling is taken hostage again, she manages to flee once more, also riling up the rest of the women and men to do so too. By this time, the second detective in charge, Detective Peterson, had overheard KB and Chris mention the name of the place Puling was supposedly being taken, and she informed Detective Vance about this as well. Vance, who was already in the place making sure that the trafficking operation was successfully carried out, starts to plan his own escape. By the time the police arrive, he pretends as if he got there as part of his investigation, shoots the traffickers dead, and acts like he was the one who saved Puling. The detective does get off for the time being, and he even gets awarded for bringing down the whole operation. Puling is taken to the same hospital where Vakil is being treated, and she gradually recovers. Meanwhile, Vakil had required a liver transplant, and her biological father, Anthony Gabiza, stepped up to do this. While Anthony did not really make the decision the very first time of asking, it was Thandeka who convinced him to do so. With most of the main dilemmas solved, Blood and Water set out to then punish the last remaining perpetrator, Lisbeth Nolapo had gifted 2 pairs of headphones to KB and Sayuk Marlowe, and both of these devices had tracking and recording instruments inside them. However, in Say's pair, it sometimes malfunctioned by recording some of the conversations of the person listening on the device. It was through these sound recordings that Detective Wang's role in the trafficking ring was revealed, and he was immediately arrested by his own police department, now led by Detective Peterson. These tapes also seemed to have saved Matler's life, as his wife had wanted him killed off by someone to tie up loose ends, and they also incriminated Lisbeth Nolapo herself. The police start a search for her, and then eventually arrest her from a truck she was using to flee the country. Sam Kuzana is also rescued in time, and although the boy looks beaten up, he is reunited with his mother, Janet, who had been saved at the harbor earlier.